Hello, I'm Paul.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Sergeant Ben for you.
Sergeant Ben's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
Yeah, I hope you will enjoy this show.
Really threw me then. Just didn't know what to say.
Well,
welcome to Filmbusters.
That's a low energy beginning again.
That was.
Filmbusters.
Right, everyone, welcome back to the Filmbusters. Today, we are talking about Da 5 Bloods, the new Spike Lee film. Are we excited?
Yes.
Everyone and their brother's been talking about the Five Bloods.
They have. It's been everywhere. It's now our time.
It's our time, and our opinion is the one that matters. People want to know what three white British people think of a African-American Vietnam point of view film.
Exactly.
They do.
They've been waiting for
They're
the three
asking
white
for
brothers from the UK to talk of it. Yeah. But first of all, before we begin anything...
Yes, Ben?
I would like to get both of your energy levels up, because we have to tell the listeners, before this began, we were chatting for a very long time.
Used up all the energy.
Yes, and we were having a whale of a time. We're having a whale of a time, so much so that we didn't even want to record the podcast, but now here we are. So everyone, reveal something about yourselves to the listeners that they never would have known before. In one sentence, reveal something.
Okay, I can reveal something.
Go on.
I have never, and I cannot, burp.
Nah,
I remember hearing that from you.
Yeah, I just can't do it.
What happens if you drink something real bubbly, loads of beers?
Then what happens is, like, I feel like the bubble inside my chest, and then it just raises up my neck, and then just kind of pops in my neck.
Oh, is that uncomfortable?
No.
Oh, bro, that's bullshit.
That's weird.
Suck inwards.
You always say this. What does that mean? Suck inwards.
Oh, no. Let's not be burping
No
all over the
burping on the
podcast. This
podcast.
is horrendous business. The interesting thing about that description of what your burps feel like is how I feel when I get stoned. If I smoke a spliff, that's one of the worst side effects that I get. It's like a golf ball is in my chest, and it's moving slowly up my throat, and I feel like I need to burp, but it won't come out.
It's because you've been smoking golf balls again.
Yeah.
We told you to stay away from the golf balls. You were on the driving range and you were just opening your mouth.
I was teeing off. I'm trying to make a good golf-related gag, and I can't. That's a good fact.
I've heard that before, that people can't burp. I just find it weird.
Well, it's true.
Well, there you go. What's your interesting tale, Adam?
I don't really know. I can't think of one at the moment. I think I've just laid everything out there already.
Not a very interesting person.
Nothing very. Yes.
I haven't got anything
He's
worth hiding.
two-dimensional.
So no facts from Adam. Shall we just move on?
Yeah.
Yes. No. Facts,
I'll try and
Adam.
think of something, but I honestly can't.
All right then, boys. Let's get to the early entry in our podcast, which is the quiz. So, currently standing is me at the top with 11 pointers, and you two in second place with joint 10 pointers. Yes,
Jesus.
Are you happy with that?
I'm
Yes.
happy. It'll do.
So I've got two questions for you now. For those who don't know what goes on here, I ask the boys two questions. If they get the questions right, they get the point. If they get the questions wrong, I get the point. There's two opportunities for them now. Both are related to today's feature film. So I'm going to ask you the questions. Are you ready, children?
Yes, please.
Spike Lee's films are traditionally known as a Spike Lee joint. But which 2013 film, which was cut by over an hour by producers, did Spike Lee decide to drop a Spike Lee joint from and just called it a Spike Lee film? Because he was so disappointed.
2013.
Oh. I don't really know.
Ooh, 2013.
2013.
Inside Man?
Inside Man is incorrect.
That's the one I was going to say, because that's the only one I could think of, 2013.
Oh, aye.
He's looking through the IMDb page.
I can't think of anything.
You give up?
25th Hour.
No. So it's not one that you would immediately think of when you think of Spike Lee, but it is the American remake of Old Boy.
Oh,
shit,
of course
yeah,
it is.
of
That's
course
shit.
He was very disappointed.
Oh, so was
I
I.
haven't seen that before.
I ain't calling that a joint, but what was he expecting? He never should have remade that anyway,
Yes.
foolish man.
Silly. Absolutely
Well,
silly.
Well, look
seen
at that. That's another point for me. I'm doing wonders in this fucking thing.
Beautiful stuff.
Now let's see how well you boys can do.
Okay.
Now then. This is going to be another one of those ones where I get the point based on if you two aren't within a certain range.
Okay.
So it's going to be a number thing again. Okay.
All right.
So, what I'm looking for is the combined age of all 4 of the main elderly actors who appeared in this film, and you have to get it right within 30.
Did you say all 4?
So all the 4 main people.
The 4 main elderly guys who go out there, so not Chadwick Boseman, but the other 4 soldiers, at their age as they are like now, not like when it was made, so not like a year ago or whenever it was.
Yeah.
Their age now, I want the combined number, and you have to get it right within 30.
240.
244.
Check it. You're obviously both right, because you're within the 30 period, but one of you is closer than the other. I won't say who, so you decide between yourselves if you both want to get a point for that, or if you want the person who is closer to get the point.
I think we should both take the point, because then he would only be one ahead of us. But
And what do you say, Paul?
Let's just go. I'll go.
I'm
Adam.
really
Go on,
annoyed
we can
that you
both get
said
a
only
point.
4 higher than me as well. I'm a little bit pissed off about that.
But Adam, the answer may be lower than you.
Yeah, but I think they're all going to be... I went at the average age of them being all 60.
Same. But then I thought, no, surely some are going to be older than 60.
I'll tell you this much. One of them was 57.
Okay.
One of them was 66.
Ooh.
I honestly think you are closer. I would have gone up a bit more if I had to go down.
So come on, tell me, are you both getting the point, or is
Just
the
both give us
closest
the
person
point.
getting
Go
the
on,
point?
give us both the point.
Are you sure?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because his fucking cunt jumped above me.
Well, look at that. Paul, you're very generous, because that would have been your point.
I knew
The answer
it
is
would have been.
259. Delroy Lindo is 68. Clark Peters, 68. Isaiah Whitlock Jr., 66. And Norm Lewis, 57. 259. Adam, you got lucky there that he was so generous.
He'd fucking jumping in above me. Oh, let's say one more than the other person.
That keeps everything
Can I
tight.
take it back now?
No, you
I was
can't.
doing something generous and now he's making fun of me.
This is bullshit.
I know,
You
same.
got lucky enough throughout this quiz.
Paul, you need to be ruthless, boy. If it comes to it at the end of this year and you are 1 point behind,
You got given 2 points for the fucking one question back then.
He's still angry about that.
he is very
That's where it all
cross.
went tits up.
Well, look, there we go. So I'm still leading the pack. I've now got 12 and you two have got 11. So well done, you boys. You should be very happy and pleased with
It was
yourselves
more of a
because you're keeping the
tactical
heat
thing.
on.
It was tactical.
It was
We
tactical.
both
Well
within
done.
We
catching
worked
distance
together.
of him next week.
I'm proud of you both.
I'm proud of you.
Don't be. I'm a terrible man.
I only said 25th hour because I bought it the other day.
Good film.
I did a real films the other day. I got 25th hour. I bought Sling Blade.
Sling Blade.
Blade. I said Blade.
You said,
said
Bade.
Bade.
And I bought Mulholland Drive. And I
Oh,
bought
well done.
The Man Who Fell from Earth.
David Bowie, very good.
I think you should buy Inland Empire.
Yeah. So, do you know what? I was so tempted in that last episode for it to be Inland Empire as the next
That'd
film
be
that
a
we
really
will
good
watch.
thing to discuss, really. I think.
Yeah,
Well, we're doing Exorcist 3 instead. It's funny, the other day my uncle out of the blue texted me and said, I'm spending lots of time now catching up on films, so tell me your top 10 films and I'm going to watch them all. And I screen grabbed my top 10 and he'd only seen like 5 or 6 of them. But then I asked him for his, and my God, it shows like it is significant when you have someone like he's my uncle's, obviously he's older than me, but like a couple of generations older, showing their top 10, because they are most of the part films I have never heard of before. You want to hear his top 10? Let me tell you his
Okay,
top
go
10
for
and
it.
you see how many of these you've heard of. So how many of these you know? A Man for All Seasons,
Nope.
The Dresser, The Boys in the Band,
Nope.
Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
There we go. No. Cruising, which is the Al Pacino one.
I've heard of it. But
Victim, not heard of it. Airplane, okay, we know Airplane. You'll know these ones: Airplane, West Side Story, The Godfather, and Close Encounters of the Third Kind. But those top ones I'd never heard of, so I added them all to the watch list. You have to buy them all; they're not streaming anywhere. Anyway, that's beside the point. Let's go to the feature, please, because this is just rambling conversation. Go.
Go! Get out of here!
The main event! Here is our featured topic, plus Adam might do a rubbish plot summary.
Are you fucking serious?
Right, guys, today we're talking about Da 5 Bloods, the new Spike Lee film. This is a spoiler episode, so we will not talk about anything that's not spoilers. We're just going to talk about spoilers, because that's what you do when it's a spoiler episode. So, Adam, would you like to explain the plot?
Yes, so this is about 4 friends who fought in Vietnam, and then they go back to Vietnam probably, I want to say 40 years later, maybe a bit longer, 45 years later. They haven't aged today because they were still 60 in the actual war, and they're still 60 in real life now. But they go back to Vietnam to go find their friend's body and also to find some treasure that they have buried. And it's all about the little adventure of them going back down memory lane and trying to recover this treasure.
Very good.
Very good.
There were 60 in the war, yes.
Can I go first? Because I don't feel like I've gone first in ages.
Yes,
go
you
on
can go
then.
first, Ben.
All right. Big fan of Spike Lee. I was very excited to check this out, but when I saw the runtime a few days ago, I was like, oh fuck, I don't think I've ever seen a Spike Lee film that runs that long. I hope he's got it in him to maintain some quality over that length of time. And ultimately, I say it up front, he did not. It is an hour too long, probably. Maybe 3/4 of an hour, but definitely too long. And it has great promise in moments, and then it throws it away with silly moments and just not very well thought out character developments and plot points that are just lazy and too coincidental. It tries to be heartfelt at moments and then does something that's really tonally different. It goes from being this like movie that focuses on black people and what they went through and them feeling like they should get what they're entitled to this like really cheesy crappy kind of action film ending moment. So I was disappointed, but it was still entertaining to a point, so it's a 7 out of 10 for me.
Ooh.
I'm in the same vein as you, Ben.
I'm going to say it as well. I'm going to agree with you both. I felt exactly the same.
Go on, Adam. Get straight into it.
I felt it started off well. Started off with a lot of promise. I was quite enjoying like the gang, and just, they've all got their different characters and got their different views on life, especially after they've left Vietnam. It started off okay, and then it all kind of went wrong when he just went down the hill to go through shit and found the gold, and it was a bit like, oh, is that it? They found it, and then after that, it was just everything kind of just happened for the next half an hour. They were stupid arguments, which were stupid. They would just argue about nothing, and it just felt it would just throw you again on complete, like you said, just throw the storyline out of the thing. You're like, it's a completely different tone of the film now, everything like that. Did have its good moments. I thought the bits in the war were really good, like the flashbacks, they were really well done. But yeah, it was just like the middle bit was a hard grog to get through. It kind of rounded itself back up towards the end. I thought it got a bit better, but it also did feel a bit off the cuff as well. Like he's obviously got actors to improvise bits as well, but it felt like they improvised it too much and they didn't really try and keep on a track. But yeah, I did enjoy it, and it is great. I did very much enjoy seeing the Vietnam War in a completely different view, like especially with the people from Vietnam as well. Like that's not a story that you've seen a lot in Vietnam films. You normally just see the war, but how people deal with it afterwards and how accepted some people are of it and how some people are still in pain from it. Ultimately, I'd give it an 8 out of 10.
Ooh,
An 8? Ooh, I wasn't expecting that the way you were
I didn't expect
talking.
that either.
I did enjoy it still. I felt like
I enjoyed it as well.
It was a good fun film. It's just it let itself down a lot.
I think the thing with these films is because it's like such a prestigious director, you always go in with the mind to kind of think you're going to enjoy it, and then instead of like when you watch a film normally where you're just experiencing it, you're kind of thinking, okay, where's the bad bits in this film? And that's how I watched the film, oddly, and then I came out enjoying it but having loads of bad things to say about it.
Yeah.
And I felt like exactly what I did with Once Upon a Time in America. I mean, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's just like you're constantly looking for the bits you don't like. So yes, it's a bit jumbled. It's a little bit long. Some fat definitely could have been cut from this film, like the attempted love story between Paul's son and the French girl I didn't care for.
Oh man,
That was
The
yeah.
love story that was set up over one beer.
Yeah, it's like, come on now,
Yeah,
stupid.
Yeah, exactly.
Some scenes were like totally on the nose. Like any scene involving Paul freaking out at a Vietnamese person, it just didn't feel realistic to me at all. It just felt it was just like, okay, this is the bit where he's got PTSD. It just didn't feel natural at all. And as for like looking for what the film's trying to say, I think the power of the message came from two places only, and that was the horrific archive footage that you see, and the pieces to camera by Delroy Lindo, I think were quite good. But I didn't feel like any other point they were putting across like a profound message or anything, other than maybe the PTSD stuff, which was just overacted, as I said. But one thing I found incredibly off-putting, and I do every time this happens in a film, is when they break up the screen ratio. I just can't deal with it. They do it in IMAX films, and it annoys me then, and I think it's just something to do with my OCD, but it really takes me out of the film.
The thing is, with IMAX films, I feel like it's almost has to be done like that, but I feel with this, he was doing it as an artistic point.
I know, but I didn't like it.
Anyway,
but
sorry,
it's a 7 out of 10. Oh, that's the end of what I've got to say.
Okay. I'll give that a fair. I was between a 7 and an 8. I'd probably give it lower more than I'll give it higher, but I did ultimately come away from this film quite enjoying it, and it was a different take on Vietnam that I hadn't seen before. It did feel fresh as well, but it was very, very clunky.
If it had been shorter, like I said to Jenny, if they had eliminated the white people from this film and focused on those black guys journeying in there, it would have been so much better. But jamming them in just was no good. And like their whole purpose throughout, like her as a love interest is not interesting. Them happening to stumble upon them in all of that fucking jungle when they stepped on the mine, it's like that's a coincidence too far.
It's just like, they're going to show up.
I thought their story at the beginning was a throwaway bit. I thought it was him trying to look back at modern day Vietnam and trying to think of, oh, these people are doing this, and like just showing some light on an organisation that were doing some good in Vietnam through the bad stuff.
Which it is, and that's fine to shine some light on them, but like it's not fucking interesting enough to bring them into the plot. Here's the way that it should have played out. They set it up for about an hour before those guys got into the jungle. They should have trimmed that in half somehow. Trim that in half and then get them into the jungle quicker. Then when they're in the jungle, focus on those 5 in the jungle and let's have some character development. And let's have a little bit more flashbacks to the past. I didn't think there were enough flashbacks. And the flashbacks that were there, it was almost like they're there to be action pieces, but they were really badly shot. They were not interesting to look at all. And then that final 40 minutes, when the white people turn up and then they're like going at it with the Vietnamese people, it's like, this is a little bit cheesy, man. Like, a bit of this is all right.
Is it a true story?
Well, I mean, in as much as there were black soldiers in Vietnam, yes, and this is like a fictionalized, like a fantasy.
It's not because it's actually been adapted, because it was an original script which was 5 white Vietnam soldiers going to find their mate.
I mean, that makes sense, because at times it feels like it's a black story, and at times it feels like that fucking just action-packed, we're here for treasure, let's get out somehow.
It felt a little bit like, especially when they found the gold on the hill, didn't you feel like you were watching like The Goonies or some like old kind of child's film? Like the way that I think the music, like how they're all getting excited and everything, it felt like I was watching like The Goonies.
Yeah.
Like an adventure
I was so
film.
mad at that point, because that was just, what are the fucking chances again?
I know.
In all
That's where
that
it lost
jungle,
me. That's where it lost me.
You have a shit and dig up a gold thing. It's like, come on, Spike.
I know.
I would have expected better from him.
After Black Klansman for this,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Totally. And Adam, you said you really liked the Vietnam like war scenes.
I did quite like the war scenes. I thought they were well done.
I didn't.
I quite enjoyed it. I
didn't.
found them quite engaging. I think it was more that you got to see the development they had with Chadwick.
I agree that you
Like,
obviously
he
need
was
to
an
have
interesting
those.
character.
Yeah, you need to have those scenes because you need to understand like what they've been through. But I felt like it was watching like Call of Duty, but like from from like an old console. Like the graphics
The
were so
graininess.
bad. Like the helicopter was like I got it off of YouTube.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
And obviously I didn't like the screen ratio change anyway. But it felt like you're watching an amateur film.
I see. That's where the main development of the film came along, and that's where it kind of I felt interested in the characters.
Well, yeah, I did. I feel like you did need to see more of that as well, because it felt like they were just setting up with Chadwick Boseman at the beginning, and they didn't bother playing out anymore after that.
Yeah, they didn't. That was an interesting storyline that they kind of threw away. Like it could have been him, like maybe admitting he was the one who shot him. I don't know if the other guys knew that.
No, the other guys didn't know that.
No.
So that could have been an interesting thing to come up. But yeah,
I think that's where they could have drilled their messaging a bit more, because they were like, he was our Martin Luther King, but it's like, yeah, just in that one scene, and that's it. What else did he do?
Yeah.
Give us a little bit more of him.
Yeah. Also, it's weird that they were the same age. Like,
No, I thought that was good. I liked that choice.
Yeah.
Straight off the bat, when they're seen in that helicopter, I'm like, why the fuck does he look the same age? And I'm like, okay, they're just going to keep them as they are. And that worked for me because it was almost like their memory. So
Yeah.
they're not changing themselves. And I went with that. That was fine. But I think that's why the action scenes lacked, because they couldn't really have them firing guns properly like young men could, because they're like in their fucking 60s.
Mm-hmm.
But I did like that Chadwick Boseman's character did represent, like, he was their Martin Luther King, and that made more sense about their age difference too, because it's like for people of that age, for them Martin Luther King is still a young man. They've all gotten older, but he is still that young man that they remember. His look, Martin Luther King looks the same to us now as he did 50 years ago, because he never got the chance to get old, while everyone else did.
Yeah, it's just immortalising the person, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was fine with that as well. It's just more like that's their headspace in Vietnam. They imagine themselves how they are now.
Yes. Here's one thing that I liked, Adam, that you might like, is the moment when Martin Luther King died, and then they had the radio broadcast come over the airwaves from that Vietnamese lady.
I found that really interesting.
Yeah, because they would have done that.
Exactly,
right?
and this
They
is
would
the
have done
areas. This is what I'm saying. It's a different take on Vietnam as well. You see it from different angles. You never see a Vietnam film with the Viet Cong even doing anything remotely. Let's say, I don't know how to describe. Maybe they were going to say just intelligent almost. Like they've got their plans in war as well, because it obviously happened. Like they won the war theoretically. Like if you're ever looking back at the Vietnam War, they won. Like they didn't just win it through just being somehow lucky. They outsmarted the Americans. They probably were really good fighters, and little things like that getting in their heads as well. And that's why it's really important that I felt like when they were talking about at the beginning, like Paul said, with the flashbacks of like the war, like they fought for freedom that they never actually got. What were they fighting for? It's like when you look at Muhammad Ali, it's like, why were we fighting out there? Like the man is here. Like the person I want to fight is at home. It's not the Viet Cong. Like they've done nothing to me. And it was interesting to see that, and like how the different people were with how they reacted, because there's probably going to be people that fought on the south side that do like Americans still, and there's people on the north that probably won't like Americans still. And
it's interesting. That's why I was close to giving it an 8, but there were just too many things that I couldn't do it for. But because it was a black story, and you never see that, I felt like maybe they should have leaned into it more than they did.
That is where it really let itself down. There is a lot of potential within this film, and I thought that was the way it was going to go. Like,
and Spike Lee's not afraid to do that. He's not afraid to tell a uniquely black tale.
Like, look at Black Klansman, man. He whipped that film round and fucking threw it straight in your face.
As soon as you saw that fucker with his terrible moustache and goatee from Klansman, didn't you know he was going to be an arsehole in this film?
Yeah. A little bit, but then I thought they weren't massive assholes again. Like
he was an asshole. That guy, he was
the
a
fat guy
dick
wasn't.
to him. No, that fat guy was annoying though, man. Like all of them were. But anyway, he was poorly fucking written, because later in the film, when they're all being walked through the jungle, he was like, "Can't believe I was jealous of you. Were you really going to bang this guy?" It's like, what are you talking about? This is shit dialogue.
Yeah,
it came out of nowhere. It was that middle bit of that film was not thought out.
There was looking back at it, right? I see too many things that I didn't like over the things that I did.
This is why I feel like we're going to do this in this podcast. We are going to talk about the things we don't like more than the things we like. But Yeah, it was. There was a lot of problems with this film. It was too chopping changing, where you couldn't get your teeth into the film in the middle, and that's when you should really be able to start rolling with this film. Like, they were arguing for stupid reasons. 90% of the problems they caused were completely avoidable. That's what was really annoying me.
I mean, I don't mind them arguing. What I would have liked to have seen was more of that with just them. Like, it could have been so much more interesting if actually once they got the gold, they fell apart. Imagine if they got the gold and then it was all of them disagreeing continuously about what to do with it. Like, they started doing that. They had a couple of them that like, no, this is for me and my family, and others are like, no, the community. They should have pursued that, because then it could have been, okay, you had Martin Luther King's message decades ago about the way forwards, and as we've seen in other Spike Lee films, black people have had influential figures like Martin Luther King saying peaceful protest, and people like Malcolm X saying you need to get violent, you need to make yourself heard, there's no time for peace. So they've got these differing views about the way forward. They should have explored that more just in the community. Instead it turned into this thing about PTSD and
there was like
other Vietnamese.
What was his name? Paul, the main guy with the PTSD. He was wearing, like, he was a Trump fan as well. Like, these are all the they felt...
Yeah, that was interesting, and they didn't go into
they didn't do anything with
These
it,
felt like real people that had things to discuss.
Yeah.
They felt like they were probably friends, but they hadn't seen each other in a while. They hadn't hung out like that in a while. Almost, and they've gone kind of separate ways since they've gone back from Vietnam. Like, one of them had his car dealerships, and the other one's gone that way. Like, the guys found out about his daughter again, which was pretty much a throwaway thing.
Yeah.
Let's come back to that daughter thing, because I've got something to say about that in a bit.
Okay.
You're the one who has actually said everything, Paul, because this was not a black film originally, and it was about 5 older white guys. There's too much of the fingerprints of that are all over this film, because it doesn't feel like a uniquely written, a uniquely black story. It feels like they've taken something that had nothing to do with race, and then Spike Lee was like, okay, let me try and pepper it in here now. Let me change things up. But there was too much that he should have addressed.
Yeah, totally. Go on. So about the daughter, go on.
So the daughter, it comes to the end. Do you think, so there's several things here. One, when that daughter smiles at the end, it's horrible. I hate that smile. Yeah. She looks hideous.
That ending was absolutely, I don't understand it. What was that?
So, all right, check it. So, after that hug, the two of them face the camera and they move towards the camera.
Yeah.
That's a Spike Lee trademark. He does that in all his films. He shouldn't have done it just to get it in at that point.
Yeah, it was like he had to get it in there. He had to shoehorn it in there at some point.
Thirdly, on that, that's not real, is it? He's dead.
You think so?
Yeah, me and Jenny were talking about that.
The only reason that could be because he got shot in the shoulder, and he had no bandage, no nothing on that shoulder.
Exactly.
So
also, why is the daughter coming up to him saying, "Dad, I missed you so much"? Yeah. She's never had a chance to meet him.
So jarring. Father,
the mother earlier in the film was like, "You don't need anything to do with him." So why all of a sudden they welcome him with open arms? Yeah, no bandage, floating towards the camera. I think he's dead. Yeah, I think they're all dead.
It was like a dream sequence, wasn't it?
The only way it's acceptable is if he's dead. Because if that's meant to be real, that's just, totally crap.
I agree with that. Yeah, it's horrible.
Even though I've given this film an 8, I can see closer to people's ratings who gave it bad than I can see who gave it good.
You're too generous. I told you. How can I respect your ratings after that?
I enjoyed it. Like we discussed. I enjoyed it because it did give an aspect on a different point of Vietnam that I haven't seen before, which way it felt fresh and it felt engaging in those points where he could have really pumped it up and gone well. He'd had a lot of Apocalypse Now moments in there, like a lot of nods to Apocalypse Now. What was that bit when he was lying on the floor at the end and he said the madness, didn't he?
That's actually from the bridge over the River Kwai.
Is it? I thought it was from when he
I
says
didn't
the horror,
know why
the horror,
he said that madness thing.
He goes the horror.
That's in Apocalypse Now.
Yeah. I thought it was just a little take on that.
But
Jean Reno was rubbish. That was stupid.
How terrible did he look? He looks so terrible.
He's so fat.
Do you reckon he got fat for the role to look like Donald Trump?
No, he's just a hideous man now.
Spike Lee was just like, who can I have put in there? Who's French?
Do you know Jean Reno has never done a good film? I stand by that.
Isn't it Jean Reno? I don't know.
He's French. It's Jean.
Yeah. Leon. Leon's a good film.
Leon's the only film that anyone can ever use to defend him, though.
Yeah.
And even that is overshadowed by Gary Oldman.
It's true.
And Natalie Portman.
You know, the other thing that really annoyed me is when their man first gets blown up by the mine. It is so obvious something's
What was
going to
gonna
happen. It's
happen?
like,
I know.
why is he backing up?
Backing up
for
so
So long as well.
long?
You feel like I was like, okay, he's gonna get. I thought he was gonna get shot. I was
Yeah, I
like,
thought
he's gonna get shot. He's gonna get shot.
But then also, that scene was so badly handled because there were good elements in it, just like the whole
And then he
film.
was sitting there with no arms and no legs.
Yeah, so that's stupid because, okay, maybe, first of all, both his arms blowing off like that, all right, maybe it happens, but the way it was shot made it look like a shit B-movie.
And all the blood was like squirting out, like
squirting
really
out.
squirting
It was
out.
stupid. And then within 10 seconds, they forgot about him to focus on the sun.
Yeah.
And it's like, no. If that had really happened, people would still be like, oh fuck. They wouldn't just be totally switching focus. Those white people turn up, they don't even reference the fact that that guy had been blown to shit.
It's like this has been your mate for ages, and you're not even gonna like give him like the
Exactly.
time of day. He just died.
I know. Those sort of things annoy me.
Yeah.
The best thing about the whole film, for me, I should have mentioned it at the time, I liked Paul's character, and I liked when he was early on in the film,
PTSD stuff.
dissing those Vietnamese and whatnot, because it felt
The bit
very
on the
real,
boat,
particularly on
Pete.
that boat. The bit on the boat was great. Like
the
when he
chicken
wouldn't
man.
make eye contact with the guy, that is when you know someone's about to flip. When they don't make eye contact and they're
And like he was great from
Telling you
both
to
points
back
of view in
off.
that situation, because you also saw how much in pain that the guy with the chicken was as well. He's like, "Come on, I just need to buy. Like, help me out as well."
Yeah.
But
fuck that guy and his chicken man. He should have fucked off when the guy said no. He should have gone.
I thought it was a bit on the nose, the whole bit with the guy coming in with the amputee right at the beginning. I felt that was a bit on the nose. It's like, okay, they're just trying to show that he's got PTSD now. It wasn't very a natural scene.
I don't know. I mean, I didn't feel too.
I thought he was great
though.
though. He was really good. He was especially that. I really like that bit where he's doing the monologue to the camera.
that was all apparently improvised as well, and you can tell it
Was it improvised?
Yeah, he didn't read the script for it.
Paul, you only like that bit so much because he kept saying Paul's not going to die. Paul's the man.
I know.
When we do our little names at the end, Paul, you have to say Film Busters Paul.
Shall I tell you one of my favourite bits of this film?
Yes. Let's put some good shit on it.
When they're dancing through the club.
Yeah. Okay. You want to know something that's real interesting about that scene?
Yeah, go on.
When that was happening, I was thinking, I fucking love this song, and this song is not a song that I hear very often, but I remember it in this other film that I used to watch called Summer of Sam. One of the best scenes is John
yes.
Leguizamo dancing in the club to that song, and I was like, oh shit, Spike Lee directed that as well. So Spike Lee must fucking love that song.
Yeah, I need to watch that
You
film
watch
again.
Summer of Sam and watch John Leguizamo dancing to that as well. Like there's serious focus on that song and the dancing to that.
I remember that being a good film. I haven't watched that in ages.
That's when the film was interesting. Like you could get on board with it, and then it started to. The middle bit was just too choppy and changey for me. It was just like you said. It changed the tone too quickly. It would do this too quickly. It was all a bit there.
It was too much.
And
It was
just
just- it
turned
was too much.
It turned into like you said, almost like a bad action film.
It got about an hour and a half in, and I was like, okay, it must be winding down now. And I was like, oh my god, there's an hour left.
Yeah, exactly. Too much.
Black
too much.
Klansman's got to be close on 2.5 hours. It's got to be in between that 2.5 hour mark.
I feel like Black Klansman was just 2 hours.
It was well paced though, better paced than this.
Oh,
Yeah, there's
better
more
than Black
going
Klansman,
on.
man. It just goes up level after level after level. Like, do you reckon there's a lot of people giving this film 10 out of 10 because they feel like they should give it 10 out of 10?
Well, do you know what's interesting? Before even watching this film, seeing people's Letterboxd reviews, I knew this wasn't going to be a particularly good film because it was getting like 8s. And I thought, oh, okay, even in this climate, if people can't be generous and give it a 9 or 10, it can't be that good.
You know the funny thing about this is on Letterboxd, I think it's about, is it a 3.8 or something?
Yeah.
But so that's
Right.
quite good on Letterboxd. But IMDb, it's like a 6. What is it? 6 point.
It's a 6 point something.
6.8, I think, when I looked yesterday.
6.8, yeah, 6.8.
I
That
also
is
just realised,
low.
you know, saying about length
That's
of
low.
Spike Lee films. He did Malcolm X, which
Yeah.
is 3.5 hours.
Was it 3.5 hours? Was
Malcolm
it on
X is 3 hours 22. Sorry.
Yeah. But that's like fucking Denzel Washington. He can hold a film by himself, you know.
Yeah.
It was just like
Charismatic.
some of the acting wasn't very good. So just going through, so Paul and Otis are on a level for me because Paul was over the top and Otis was reserved, and they were both there acting from both of those
Which one was
guys
Otis?
on point.
Yeah.
With the daughter.
The older guy, the one with the daughter. The other two for me were kind of like fringe characters. Like they didn't really have too much to do, to be honest.
It's the guy Melvin, Isaiah Whitlock Jr. I love him, and I wish they utilised him more because he's
the
so
young
good.
guy. So I was going to say about him.
No, not the young guy. He's the guy says she.
Oh, okay. So him.
Melvin.
So yeah, that's what I mean. I meant him. I meant him was a fringe character.
Yeah, I think they should have utilised him a bit more because I really like him. He's a good actor. He's in The Wire and he plays like the corrupts kind of mayor.
He says
I think he's the
she
mayor.
a lot in other films, doesn't he?
Yeah, that's the thing. No, in The Wire, that's what he's known for saying, and that's why it's a little Easter egg that they put in.
Yeah.
Well, he says it in Black Klansman. That's what I know him.
Oh,
from
does he
saying
say it in
it
that as
from.
well?
Yeah.
Oh, he overdoes it then.
I know, exactly. Because the minute he did it in this film, I was like, I've heard him say that before.
Yes, that's his catchphrase.
And the young guy, I just didn't think was very good. It wasn't
Eddie.
very believable.
Yeah, the guy who was backing up onto the mine. Oh, the
No,
young
what-
guy, the young
no, the
guy,
young- the young black guy.
guy.
His son.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I
David-
just forgot about him.
Yeah.
I felt like they just wanted to interject like a
youthful character.
young character into it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was just it was totally wrong to do that. To add, it's kind of like, you know, that Always Sunny in Philadelphia episode where Thundergun, they go and see the press screen of it, and it's like, oh, we're introducing his kid into it now, and they're like, no, this isn't what people want to see and shit like that. It kind of felt like in this, it was like, let's bring in the younger generation. Let's also bring in a love interest. It's like, if I don't care about the son, why the fuck do I care about?
I
a
felt with
potential
the
love
son,
interest
he
that we
was
just
the.
met?
If they were going to cause potential arguments and rifts within the group, the son should have been the way through it. Like that could have been quite an interesting path to go down with these arguments,
Yeah.
but they didn't do it. He just didn't do it right.
It all felt very forced. All that stuff about he didn't love me because my mother died at childbirth. All of that stuff felt a little bit. Oh, this feels. I've seen this.
How
in
quickly
movies,
do you reckon
man.
he wrote this film? Like wrote the film because it
Well, it's
felt a
already
bit
written.
scrappy.
They just adapted
No,
it.
but how quickly
So-
do you reckon he adapted it? Because you feel like with something like a lot of Spike Lee films, they are very well written, and you feel like he might have had it in the bank for a while, or he's written over like maybe a year, like added pieces to really thought it out. But this didn't feel like that. But I
There's
still
4
enjoyed it.
writers on this film,
Oh, okay.
so that probably says it all.
Sack
Yeah.
them all.
The
Even
more
the
you've
part,
got, the worse.
I still enjoyed it though. I don't know if I'd necessarily watch it again because of the run time.
I would never watch it again.
One
Like,
and
I
done.
understand how it can be important for the black community right now, but even that, I don't think it's anywhere near as significant as something like Do the Right Thing, made over 30 years ago, is more relevant to what's going on today than this film
100%.
is.
100%.
It's a big step down for Spike Lee. It's not. It's one of the worst films I've seen him come out with.
You still gave it a 7 though, which says a lot.
Yeah, I know. So it's good for him. Do the Right Thing is his best film, 100%.
Black Klansman.
I'm tossing to
still,
yeah, Black Klansman I think might be better.
Nah,
I need to watch
man.
Do the Right Thing again though.
Do the Right Thing all day. That is so much more nuanced. Black Klansman's incredible. I love it, but Do the Right Thing has the edge.
You can't look at it in the same way after Jesus Rolls though.
Who?
John, what's his name? John Toronto. Is it Toronto?
Oh yeah, he was in Do the Right Thing, isn't it? Yeah. But what? Oh yeah, that's a thing that I like about Spike Lee films, and I liked that Paul was like the embodiment of this early on in the film. Is that he's not afraid of letting the black characters be racist, whereas in lots of other movies, black people are just the victims of racism. In this, Paul being that way was good because it shows that it happens in different ways.
They
and,
felt
there's
they
different
felt like real
communities and
people.
stuff.
That's what they felt like in this film, to an extent.
But like you said, they should have just delved a little bit deeper into them, particularly them two fringe characters, the fat one that Paul likes and the guy who blew up on the mine. Both of them, they were just superficial characters. They didn't have any depth to
They
them.
gave him a story arc for about a minute when they said he was poor.
I know, and it was such a shit story arc.
He was the weakest link.
He was
that guy.
weak. He also felt like he wasn't really an actor. I don't know.
Yeah, it felt odd. I think because you know the faces of the other guys, and he was a bit like a
Yeah.
unknown element.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't have anything else to say on this film, by the way. I'm done with it.
That's actually the thing. That's the problem with this film. This was a really long film, and it feels like there should be more to say, but actually there isn't.
You trundled
It's
through.
it's quite superficial.
It was a lot better than Jurassic Shark.
Yeah, if you could compare the two, yeah. But I feel like we've been unduly harsh on it because when it first finished,
Yeah,
I
we
wasn't
have.
sure if I was going to give it a 7 or an 8, but it is true.
We've
it's
all
just
given
generally
it
not great.
relatively good scores.
A 7
Yeah,
is
it's
something you're just
fine.
like, yeah, it was good. It was fine. It was fine. Right, so now it's the time that we've got our lovely listeners to send in their reviews of this film. So first of all, we had Jabba2000, and they say, I wanted to love it, but the inconsistent tone, mood, and screenplay will keep it from being overly memorable.
Very
Very
much.
true.
100% agree.
Very true.
He said it a lot better than we said it.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, he basically said what we took 55 minutes to say.
Yes.
Yeah.
Our inconsistent tone just didn't say it as well.
It's a good job people find that out at the end of the podcast. Because if they found that out at the beginning, then they wouldn't be
Yes,
here right
quite. And T Treeks said 50 minutes too long. Good setup, then weak follow through. My dude, you know who I mean, was so transparent as a character, he may as well have been wearing a red Star Trek crew shirt. I don't actually know what he means by that.
I think he means the weak link because he was just there to be blown up by a mine.
Oh,
Yes.
literally the mine guy, the mine
Yeah.
guy who blew up.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I mean, he was transparent.
Because
totally.
red Star Trek t-shirts, people who just die on Star Trek.
Oh, is it? I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
They
Very good
basically
reference.
in all the films, there's always someone who's wearing a red crew shirt, and they normally just die.
And no one noticed they die.
No, they notice they die, but it's more like you're the cannon fodder just to be killed off in the film.
Fair enough.
Well, that's a real shame because look, we had 2 comments, both were damning. We were pretty damning. I thought there'd be some love for this, but there you go. All right, shall we place this fucker?
Yes, let's place it.
So that didn't actually take us very long to work out where we were going to place this film this time round. It got an average of 7.3, and all our other 7.3s from top to bottom were 13, It Chapter 2, Can You Ever Forgive Me, Dragged Across Concrete, and I, Tonya. And we all agreed it was worse than all of them. So sorry, Spike, you got
Damn
to try
shame.
harder next time.
Sorry, Spike.
I'm very sorry to see this.
It doesn't put a mark on your director. I don't know. I just finished it off. But
If his worst film is only a 7, I think he's doing pretty good for himself.
do you reckon you've got a Scorsese film below an 8?
Yeah, I think The Departed I'd give a 7.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Horrendous work.
We can have a big debate about that if you want. I
He's ready for it. He's coming in.
I feel like us three need to just get on a podcast with no film to discuss and do one of our topical conversations again, because there's a lot of fucking conversation to be had. which
Remakes of foreign
we can only
films.
just touch on in these specific episodes.
I feel like that's got to be maybe let's have some beers, have some food, and sit down around a table one and like just bounce off it. Like you'll get the better
just
energy.
bring a beer to your computer and bring some food because we're going to be in lockdown for a long time, baby.
I know. We can sit around a 2-meter table.
2 meter table.
2 meter table.
It needs to be bigger than 2 meters because then you won't be sitting 2 meters
know.
apart.
Wherever, you know what I mean. But yeah, I feel
I
like
know
you
what you
need
mean.
you need an energy to bounce off each other with that conversation.
Stop saying bouncing. I'm not bouncing on anything, mate.
You are.
Anyway, that was just that. This is the kind of film and episode that will be forgotten forever.
It's unfortunate, but it's true.
It's not a good film, and it's not going to be a very memorable episode because it wasn't that memorable to talk about in the first place.
Sad times.
Shall we do something completely outrageous? Let's do something completely outrageous now that makes this one of our most iconic episodes ever.
Okay,
Let's all get naked.
I know what it'd be.
What would it be?
Let's say who we'd be in the film.
Oh, yes. That's going to change everything.
Well, you've got to be Paul.
I'm Paul.
He's Paul.
Okay, no,
and this is
I'm
between you all.
I'm not Paul. Ben is Paul
Why would I be Paul?
because you're like the paranoid.
I think I am
like-
most like Paul out of all of them.
Nah,
though,
you've
yes.
got to be Paul because your name's Paul. That can't. You've got to accept that. Ben could be Jean Reno.
I'm not
Jesus
being
Christ.
Jean Reno, and he's Jean Reno, and I'm not being him. He's a big fat
You're
fuck.
Gene, mate. You're Gene.
If Paul's going to be Paul, then I'm going to be Otis.
You could be
But
the
that
fat
is-
kid with the
but
mind squad.
The fact
I
is,
think I'd
if
be Otis.
you should be Otis because your disposition is Otis, and my disposition is Paul.
I can be the guy who stepped on the landmine because I only turn up for the halfway through the podcast and I say all my stuff and I let you guys talk for the rest of the other half.
No, do you know who you are? You're the son. You are the son.
Yeah.
And the younger generations.
We always got to pull you off those mines because you can't do anything for yourself.
All right, we didn't actually talk about that. Just very quickly, does that strike you as a believable way of getting off the mine? I couldn't tell.
His
if
legs
it
would have been blown
work. I think so, right?
I was hoping it would be a dud. I was kind of thinking, they're going to pull him off and nothing's going to happen.
That would have been funny. That would have been funny. I thought
That was another very throwaway moment. They just had an emotional thing, and then 2 seconds later, he doesn't give a shit about him again.
I know.
I did think they're not pulling him hard enough. They should have run with the rope.
Yes. And also, it's like from a standing position, which he was doing, it's impossible to jump significantly without bending knees or anything like that, and he wasn't allowed to do that.
It's basically scientifically impossible, and his legs would have been blown off.
Yeah. There was something more to say on that, and I can't fucking remember what it was.
Anyway,
On that-
Adam's the fat mine detector guy.
Why am I
End
him?
of.
It's just I was the son.
Because
Nah,
you're the
you've
son.
been demoted, mate.
You're my son. You're my son, and I don't love you.
Or maybe I do.
You don't
Maybe
love
I
me
do.
because he gave
And
some nice
Paul's
guys
your
a knife.
godfather. Paul's your godfather. There you go. That's
Oh,
the way
look, it
works.
works. Oh. Beautiful.
Well, it was all a big pile of shit. Spike Lee, you fucked up.
Anyway, let's announce something exciting.
Yes.
Oh,
We've
yes.
already said Ben's next film is The Exorcist, but we've got something even more exciting happening
The
than that, haven't
Exorcist
we?
3.
Yes, we
the
have.
next
This
film
is-
we will be talking about is The Exorcist 3. But first, Adam, go on, tell everyone what's exciting.
We're going to let you guys pick a film again. So after we've done The Exorcist 3, you guys will be picking the Net podcast.
So that's exciting. Last time it was 13, which mixed
Yes.
everything up.
Yes.
What
it
will we
did
have
indeed.
this time?
I'm excited.
I hope someone puts forward the films of Jacques Tati.
Who?
Yeah, quite.
I hope
Exactly.
they put the films of Jean Reno.
I'm going
You're
to
such a little
make...
scumbag champ.
I'm
Gene Reno.
Reno.
That's like a Las Vegas lounge singer.
Right, shall I wrap this shit up?
You
Yes.
can do whatever you want.
Okay, here we go. You can get in touch with us at FilmbustersPod on Instagram and Twitter. You can go to our website at www.filmbusterspod.co.uk. All our podcasts are on there, and so are all our reviews that we do from us and our in-house critics. They are lovely. You should go look at them. You can also get in touch with us on our personal accounts. I'm at Filmbusters Paul from the Five Bloods.
I'm at Filmbusters Adam.
And I'm at Filmbusters Otis from the Five Bloods.
Otis was going to be the one I picked if I picked a person.
You are definitely not calm enough to be Otis.
You aren't either. You start fights with anyone. Have you ever interjected? Have you ever been in a pub, Ben, and someone's been talking about film, and you've kind of listened to the conversation and thought, I really want to interject into this conversation and talk to you about
Any
this?
person who ever talks about film in public, more often than not, I disagree with. So yes.
I can just imagine you in a pub saying, hang on a second, that's wrong.
It's actually Jean Reno.
Filmbuster.